And we should be live again. Check me on there and see if we're live.
Let me go back to your channel. Sorry guys.
Little technical difficulty.
Again.
Everybody's off today, so they're on the web. Or everybody's inside, not off. Kids are out for summer. That's another one. Fills it.
There you go.
And we're back. Sorry about that. When this is all said and done, I'll make these videos part 1 and part 2. And then again, you guys comment on either video or both to increase your chances. And we're going to pick some winners for some Yeti product. And we're going to pick a winner for some of the line cutters rings. So hashtag Yeti, hashtag line cutters, and we're going to pick some winners.
This is my favorite Canadian lady bass.
Nice.
She's got a pretty good YouTube channel.
Cool. I'll have to go check that out.
Now, there was a question I wanted to comment on because this is something that I
Did we finish the Palomar knot piece?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, cool.
I think we did.
So if we didn't finish the Palomar line piece and y'all are back, re-ask the question and we'll finish it up.
Yeah. So there was a question about sunglasses.
Okay.
Now, if you guys have been watching any of my videos over the last year, you've seen I've been changing sunglasses like underwear. I've been just trying out new brands, new models, new everything, just trying to find which ones work. I'm a long-time Costa wearer, and I love my Costas. I still have a pair in my truck. But I just found a lens that I really like, and they're on Oakley's, and they're called prism lenses, shallow water prism lenses. And I took them out. I let Jordan wear some yesterday, and I let Noah wear some the other day. And I never thought that you could find a lens that was as good at seeing in the water as the prism. It surprised the heck out of me. And I'm still new to wearing them. I've been wearing them for about 3 weeks, but being able to see what's coming up behind your lure and what and the other fish, I'm like, I cannot believe I can see as far in the water as I can with those things.
So here's the thing. I've considered myself a very prolific sight fisherman. I have sight casted and I've sight fished for redfish and speckled trout and bass and all these species for years. And I've always said I have to have the best product on the market because this is what I do for a living. I've got to have the best tools for the trade because this is what I do. I want to protect my eyes. You guys have all seen the pictures of the lure in the eyeball that makes you cringe on social media. And so I wear my glasses for a couple of reasons. One, they're eye protection for a mist hook set. B, they protect your eyes from the glare and the UV damage to your actual eye to protect your eyesight. But more importantly, they allow you to do what you do better. They allow you to see underwater cover and structure and edges and ledges and things like that, but then they also allow you to see the fish. And so Gene and I actually had the rep reach out to us at the same time for Oakley's, and we were both, you know, diehard Costa guys. And skeptical. And he sent the glasses over to Georgia. And so if you guys watched my shoal bass video, you'll remember that I took the glasses and put them in front of the chest camera so you could see the difference. Now, the one thing that camera doesn't bring to the table is that the longer you wear the glasses and the more that the rods and cones in your eyes adjust, the better you're going to see, because you guys just got a quick camera version of what those glasses did, and everybody was still impressed. And then Gene had to take off, you know, when the situation with Ryan happened, and so they gave me his glasses, and then I drove around with them in the back of my truck for almost a month before Gene finally said, dude,
I want my glasses.
I want my glasses. And so we dropped them in the mail and got them over to him. And so I had a month head start on what turned into a phone call where he was like, dude, like the 6 U's dude. And I can't tell you exactly what the technology difference is, but what I can tell you is the thing that I noticed is less eye strain, less headaches, less all that stuff that honestly I just considered part of the thing, part of the job. If you're going to go out and focus hard and really look and hunt for fish in shallow water, you're going to have eye strain. I just thought it was part of the deal. But what it was is it was the lens design, and it was the coating and all those other things that work together. So far, and I'm not betting the farm on it yet, but so far I'm beyond impressed with those prism lenses. I'm beyond impressed with the frames and pretty much everything that Oakley brings to the table. I'm not crapping on Costa. I've used Costa for years. My son still has 2 or 3 pair because once I started wearing those prisms, he automatically felt like he could just adopt my Costas. But anyway, they're great lenses. They're awesome product. Doesn't mean Costa's not a great product. I'm just telling you, there's something special.
Yeah, we found something better
about those prism lenses. And again, the jury's still out for me because I haven't tested but one pair. You know, I haven't done the product line. I haven't looked for, you know, the different colors. I'm kind of a snob when it comes to glasses.
Yeah.
I like the right lens for the application. I like my blue-green for offshore. I like my smoke gray for overcast. I like my amber, vermilion, copper for shallow water, depending on the contrast of the bottom. And I'm spoiled.
Thanks, Jay.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm spoiled. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Good question.
Yeah, man. Okay, so somebody, Lady Bass asked me about my new boat. So
Gene's got a new boat.
I'm getting a new boat. To say I'm excited is an understatement. Tomorrow morning, my boat gets delivered to the dealership, and it's about 2.5 hours from my house. I'm going to try to get a meet and greet together in Lawrenceville at the Bass Pro Shops. We haven't finalized anything yet, but to show off the new boat. But
so they get to meet your boat.
Right, they get to meet my boat. Okay, so what I'm excited about is it is the 2018 model, and I have worked really hard to get Alumacraft to go from having a front live well to having just more storage. And so that's what this boat is. It is a tournament fishing aluminum boat with a 115 on the back for those college and high school kids whose dad can't afford a $60,000 boat. Mm-hmm. And so it's got a recessed pedal well. It's got a recessed pedal well. It's got the new Minn Kota Ultrex on the front of it, which has got the spot lock that I'm excited about. It's going to have dual power poles, the Sportsman power poles in the back. It's going to have twin Garmins on the dash and one up front. And I mean, I'm stoked. I'm absolutely excited that it's going to be.
So what does that boat run out the door?
Now it should run with I've got a bunch of all the add-ons. Okay, mm-hmm. So it should run with that motor with high quality stuff somewhere in the 30s, okay. Low 30s to mid 30s. You know, and they always tell us to tell people just to go to your dealer and see what you can do, because some dealers can do a lot better than that, and some
because they can save you on installation and rigging and some of those.
Exactly. So I've got to do all the price thing to figure out exactly how much that thing would go out the door. But as a professional, somebody sponsored by Alumacraft, they tell us to say go to your dealer and figure out the price.
So about 15 kayaks, basically.
About 15 kayaks.
Yeah, 15 expensive kayaks.
And about 50 miles an hour. So and it's going to have a hydraulic jack plate on the back.
And you know what's better than having a boat? I'm just going to say this. Is having friends with boats.
That's right. And so I'm excited about being able to do that. And the reason I wanted to do that with Alumacraft is I wanted to show that you can be competitive in college and in high school, mm-hmm. and not have to have a big old freaking boat, you know, and not tax your parents or whatever else. So it gets more people into that end of the world, and I think that is the future of boat fishing, of boat bass fishing, is these college kids and these high school kids that want to fish.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm pushing kayak fishing at that level too. And
exactly.
It's a stair step, and we've got opportunities at every angle, so it's a good point.
Yep.
So one skill set you should work on if you can't afford a boat is become a good truck backer upper, and then that person will always invite you to go fishing because you can back the boat down. There's nothing more frustrating than owning a truck and a boat and everything and inviting a guy to go fishing, and he can't even back a truck down a boat ramp. So for all of you folks out there that have a boat that can't back down a trailer, put some cones up out in your yard and practice, because everybody at the boat ramp waiting on you to line up 16 times is frustrating. So there's my little kayak bass fishing guy shout out to you guys that back a trailer. Practice backing.
If you want a funny video though, go up north where they actually have a fishing season, mm-hmm. Go opening day and set your GoPros up around the main boat ramp.
I'll tell you what's even better than that. I went down and hooked up with Hannah Barron and her dad, Jeff, and those guys to do a little boat fishing trip, and I'm working on that video right now. But it was Memorial Day weekend on Lay Lake in Alabama, and it was Comedy Central watching these people try to back their trailers down this little short boat ramp. So anyway, work on that schedule. Work on that skill set. Skills.
This is a good one to have for a short answer. Trey asked me, it's Trey Tanner, and he has a Georgia G, and that's why I saw it. You know, go dogs. Got to discuss electronics. Garmin now instead of a Lowrance. Let's hear some opinions on the finders from both guys, please. I chose Garmin because it's something other than Lowrance, and Chad's a Lowrance guy. I just had so many issues with this set of Lowrances that I had that I wanted to try something different this time. It's not a knock on. Now the models that I had are no longer in existence, and they no longer, you know, Lowrance has got a lot of improvements since those models, but I just was tired of the issues that I had with them, so I just said, oh, you know what, let me try something different, and that's where I'm sitting. So.
And I just use Lowrance because they're the best on the market. No, actually, I think that, you know, Garmin's great. I actually started with Garmin. We actually went in the opposite direction.
Yep.
I started with Garmin. If you read KayakBassFishing, the book that I wrote, you'll see in there that I have a Garmin unit on my boat in that book, and it was because at that time they had focused on kayak fishermen. They had made smaller units, and even back then, which is only in 2009 when I was writing the book, I had this mindset that, you know, I needed a depth finder made for kayaks. And since then, I've really come to the conclusion that I want the best possible information available to me that I can get when it comes to my electronics. And so I just helped make a boat that works with better electronics instead of having cheaper electronics to work with the kayak. So I use an HTS 9 Gen 3. I am blessed beyond measure, and so Lowrance just sent me the new Carbon 9, and I'm about to do an installation video of it, and I'm going to go out and do a product review, and then I'm going to use that. That's what I've been waiting on. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do an in-depth seminar series, so I'm going to show you catching fish. I'm going to show you finding structure. I'm going to give you a full in-depth, you know, GoPro right next to the depth finder, showing you going through the paces, showing you dissecting a fishery. And so that's coming. My electronic series, when it gets hot and when the fish move deep and when they're hard to find, that's when I want to do that video series. So I'm waiting for the dog days.
Yeah.
And they're right around the corner. And I have tons of plans on doing that. One of the things I'm going to do is get an AquaView camera and take it out with me, and I'm going to show you what it looks like for real with an AquaView camera, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like on the electronics so that you know what you're looking for, because too many people are dependent on the fish ID symbol, where they turn on fish ID, and if they don't see a little goldfish fish going by with a number next to it, they don't know how to read. You guys know what goldfish, the little crackers, that's what they look like. And so until you learn how to read arches and know what those arches mean, and start to learn how the arches relate to each other mean. Like, I can tell a group of arches and know that they're spotted bass just by how they school. I can tell a group of arches and a group of returns on structure scan and tell you if it's largemouth. I can tell you in that group where I think the bigger largemouth are going to be. I can tell you what a flathead catfish looks like on there. I can tell you what striper look like, what crappie look like. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, those things, crappie are probably the #1 thing that are misrepresented as a tree. I see crappie in stacks all the time, and people go, "Oh, look at that tree," and I go, "That's not a tree." Now there may be a tree in the middle of that, or a tree limb. I've seen 150 crappie on a stick up that's that long.
I call them Christmas trees.
And that big around. It looks just like a Christmas tree.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and honestly, what I like to find when I find a school of crappie is I like to break out a bull shad or a swim bait that mimics those, and then I like to fish the next closest staging spot and see if I can't find a big old bass that thinks one of those crappie swam off from the school, and or a DD 22 or Norman diving, you know, deep diver that looks like a crankbait or like a crappie, and catch the big bass that eat them.
Now there's a lot of conversation going on about fish finders, what brands, what everything else. You know, the best fish finder is one that you can read.
Yeah.
There's a lot of knuckleheads out there with $60,000 boats and $8,000 worth of electronics that cannot read them because they look cool. If you can't, you can read an old grayscale, you can do just as good as somebody that can read a standard color or whatever else. There's a lot of tools out there now on electronics that make it easier for you to learn what you're looking at. Side scan, down imaging, things like that. If you're looking for your first unit, what I always say is make sure it's color, make sure it's got mapping and GPS, and get one with down imaging, because down imaging will tell you what you're seeing on your standard sonar. Side imaging is a good bonus, but if you're going to get side imaging, you're going to want to get the biggest screen that you can afford, because the smaller the screen, the more detail you lose on side imaging, because there's just so much information. So I make sure you at least have down imaging, and then understand that you, in order to get that perfect picture that you see on all of the commercials and everything else, you got to be going 3 to 5 miles an hour.
And you got to dial in your.
And you got to dial it in.
You got to dial in your settings.
But it's not one setting though.
I know.
When you're with your
Dial
using your electronics, you can't just set it and forget it. I am constantly changing the settings on my electronics according to water quality, water clarity, even just what I'm
suspended
seeing.
particulate matter,
yeah, and what's in there. So you can learn how to adjust
temperature distribution through the water column, whether or not there's a thermocline, all kinds of things that happen.
And those videos are coming.
Look, I'm gonna tell you a story. In fact, what we'll do is I'll commit to going out and doing some side-by-side stuff with Gene where we put a Lowrance and a Grommet right next to each other and just show you kind of the pros and cons, or the cons and cons, or the pros and pros of both units, because it's not about better or best, it's about what's best for you.
You also might see some Ray Marine.
Exactly. Let me give you an example of something that people don't think about when they think about electronics. Think about cameras. Imagine you had a camera and you focused at one time and you went around and took pictures all day. The only picture that's going to be in focus is the first one you took, or the one that you accidentally get in focus. Kind of like when a clock a watch that's dead's right 2 times a day. It'll be a lot like that. So you're dead on in the fact that you got to constantly learn how to adjust your electronics. I fish with a guy on a $75,000 bass boat. You guys never saw me on Instagram or Facebook or social media with him, so I'm not calling him out. The only person that'll probably know who it is him, and he probably doesn't watch this channel. I fished with this gentleman for about 4 hours, and we weren't catching fish. I said, well, hey man, if you don't mind, can I idle around and look at the graph? And I idled around for 3 minutes before I figured out that his HDS 12 was on demo. So he had this unit for probably 3 weeks, and I don't know that unit had been off a demo. So that illustrates exactly the point that Gene was trying to make, is that there's a lot of guys that just have this thing as cockpit jewelry. You know, they got it as nose jewelry. They want to say they've got this big electronic because they think it makes them look pro, but most don't really know how to use it and don't know how to get the maximum benefit from it. So I'm actually flying to Tulsa this year, and I'm going to spend some time with Lowrance.
I can't get rid of that guy. You're going to have to.
I'm going to spend some time with Lowrance, and I'm going to bring you guys the best possible, maximizing the use and getting the best possible return out of your units. So we've got a spammer in here, so Gene's going to answer a question while I log in and see if I can't zap.
Yep, let me find a real quick one because I've been worried about him. Let's see. Chase and Tail, thanks man. I make videos for you guys. I love to do that kind of stuff. He just basically said my channel was his favorite.
Perfect.
So cool. What size battery do we use for electronics on kayaks? I like the Nocqua batteries. They're a little pricey, but dude, they last all day. They're a little bitty. Go on Amazon, look up Nocquas, is it?
Nocqua. N-O-C-Q-U-A.
Yeah.
They make a really good pro pack. I actually have the Nocqua in my gearbox.
And I just started using it.
I use the Nocqua. I also use the Duracell or Worker, W-E-R-K-E-R batteries from Batteries Plus. They make a great, it's not an AGM, it's a standard security system battery is what it is. And for my bigger unit, I'm looking for 10 to 19 amp hours. And so 10 amp hours will get me about 3/4 of a heavy usage day. 19 will get me a full day. And so I use something between a 10 amp hour and a 19 amp hour. Even with an HDS3 with all the mapping on, it gets me through, 2 of them will get me through a full day, 12 hours, 15 hours, and I'm good to go.
You just went into overdrive.
Right. I apologize for the spammer in the comments. We adjusted my spam filter and they have gotten by it again, so we're going to tighten it up even more.
We like the morons. Anyway, have you ever tried the 3D structure scan from Lowrance?
I just got it.
Yeah.
And so I've got it coming, and I will be giving you a full rundown on it. I've only used it on a boat. I haven't used it on a kayak yet, but I have it in my fishing shed. I got it right before I left, and I am jumping in there to I'm jumping in there and doing a video on it. I'm installing it, and I'm going out and testing the heck out of it.
Video manager, I think. I should have done it. Anyway, do we like the new Hook 9? I've never used it.
Yes. I have a couple of them. One of them we're going to do a giveaway here on the channel with later this year.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if you were going to use the Hook series, I would say, yeah, go ahead and handle it.
No, take it.
The Hook series is by far the best bang for the buck, in my opinion, on the market. And when I was convinced that I needed to make the move to Lowrance, it's when they kind of showed me their game plan and where we were headed, where they were headed, what they were going to make for the kayak market, and how they were going to start packaging a lot of bang for the buck into smaller packages, which means that you can get a unit, you know, sub $1,000, some cases sub $500, that's got a lot of functionality. With the chirp technology and the DSI and all of that and the standard transducer all packed into one unit, those Hook series are probably, you know, by far the best value on the market, in my opinion.
Yep.
That being said, one of the reasons that you go to a bigger screen is you don't get a lot better resolution when it comes to actually killing a specific thing. What you get, or seeing a specific thing, what you get is you get a lot better split screen functionality. And the reason that I say that is when I'm on my chart, I want great charting. When I'm on my sonar or DSI or whatever, I want the best functionality for that. But what happens is for the bigger screen is when you go split screen, when you're trying to compare a chart and you're trying to compare your sonar or your DSI and you're changing those screens up, if you've got a 5-inch screen or a 7-inch screen and you split the screen, now you got these two little bitty 3-inch screens, and there's not enough information there, intelligible information, to really dial in some of the stuff that I'm looking for.
Turn off or down. For me, we're good with that.
Okay, cool. So to answer your question, I think the Hook's a great value. I think that the 9 is a great investment because when you split it, you're going to get 2 full 4-inch screens. You can set your screen divider to where you've only got the small column over here for your sonar and a big chart, or you can go to a small chart and a big sonar or DSI, and you can interact, you know, you can do your structure scan stuff. And so for me, I think that the Hook series are really nice. In fact, I'm going to start outfitting my guest boat with a Hook series, and then when I do my video series this summer on depth finders, I'm going to be comparing the HDS series to the Hook series, and I think that a lot of folks are going to be pleasantly surprised by how close that Hook series is to that HDS series. And I think the only place that the Hook series is going to potentially lose out is when it comes to processor speed and some of the rapid functionality. But for me, in a kayak, I'm going so slow, 9 times out of 10, that's not a problem. But the mapping and the things that the HDS series does makes it worth that extra money for me. And I don't have enough experience with the Hook series yet to tell you if there's any drop off there, but I will this summer as we move into the summer and we develop this series. I'm going to go over Gene's way and fish the PFA with him, and we're going to find some stuff on Chickamauga, and we're going to go find some of these places on the Tennessee River system that I fish that are deeper water, and show you how to find fish off the bank, talk about the strategy for finding deep water.
Just go on your phone and see. It's kicking back on. There we go. We're back on. All right, so we went offline for a half a second. That's okay. There was a really good question. Actually, some guy asked if you still use the Scout Look app, and I'm going to say yes. Scout Look is where we find the fishing times.
About 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, 5 minutes before we got on this, so about an hour ago.
And I use it too because of him.
I think it's the most accurate weather out there. One of the things that Scout Look Weather does that's different from a lot of other weather apps is they have sensors. They have a contract where there are sensors on aircraft flying around the country, so that information is coming directly from these aircraft that are in that environment, not just from interpretations of Doppler radar and some of this other stuff. So we call them in the aviation industry PIREPs, which stands for pilot reports. So they've got these sensors, 4,500 plus of them, spread around the world that are feeding back real-time information to their system, which is what makes them better than even AccuWeather and some of the other stuff that's out there. Their lunar times and their geocaching, where it finds out where you are and adjusts for it, is by far the best that I have found. I've got a video coming out next week about lunar times and interpreting that data and understanding it and know what it means, know what to go and know what to throw is going to be kind of the concept of that video. And it's not going to say don't go if you can't go in the peak time. It's going to say just adjust your approach a little bit. Go when you should, even if you can't go when you, go when you could. Even if you can't go when you should, just adjust your approach a little bit.
Yep, and it's called Scout Look Fishing. Is somebody asked what we were talking about?
And I use Scout Look Fishing and Scout Look Hunting, and one thing that's cool about them is they also have the Fish Log app, which allows you to log your catches. It grabs the weather data and piggybacks it on top of it. It's just a great tool.
So have we ever fished Lake Amistad?
No. We haven't. I have, but it's been
years.
16 years
Yep.
since I fished Amistad. I was supposed to go fish through my relationship with Seagar. I was supposed to go fish with Denny Brower about 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago. And Denny fell. He was building a house on Amistad. He actually lives there now, and he broke his ankle and was in a walking boot and just didn't feel comfortable, trying to do the shoot while he was in a walking boot. So I haven't been back. But when I lived in Corpus Christi, when I was stationed there in the Navy, probably from 17 years ago up to about 14 years ago, because I was there almost 6 years total, I fished Amistad twice during that period of time, but I fished Falcon a lot more.
So what's your opinion on the Vibe Sea Ghost?
I actually just messaged the guys on Vibe through Instagram and told them that I'd like to review one of their boats. And the main reason that I asked them if I could review one of their boats is they have a very aggressive fan base and an aggressive following. What I mean by that is the people that love them, love them. And so anytime somebody asks a question about a video on my channel, there's always someone jumping in and recommending that boat. And so for me, when I get the question, hey Chad, what do you think of the Vibe Sea Ghost? I can't really answer that question unless I've paddled it. And I've never actually touched one in person. So I reached out to Vibe. In fact, I got a message back from them yesterday evening, and they said, hey, contact our rep and we'll get a boat over to you. Not buying it, not paying for it. They're not paying me to promote it. I'm simply going to start doing a lot more videos where I use different boats, to be able to answer the questions that you ask me effectively, to give you my feedback and input firsthand, and to also have a better understanding of what's out there in the market when I'm making, comparisons about different models of boats. So I plan to jump in a Vibe Sea Ghost in the next couple of weeks and take it for a spin and see what it's all about. So I will have to defer to after I've had a chance to try it to answer that question, because I really don't know right now.
Yep. Somebody asked, have we tried the new fluoro from Seagar? I have. It's all I use for leader material on my tippets. You talk about fly fishing. On my spinning rods, all my leader material is now the finesse when I'm fishing drop shot or shaky head, some of that ultralight stuff. Dude, I've started catching a lot of fish since I got this.
It's good. For me right now, this time of year, I'm really aggressively throwing a frog.
So you're
I'm really aggressively throwing square bills still, because in a lot of places where I'm going, they're still chomping on a square bill. They're chomping on a chatterbait. I'm dragging the lures over wood. I throw a jig year round, okay? And I throw a jig a lot like Gene's former, I say former because I've twisted his arm, his former lack of affinity for the Senko was because it was too easy. I literally throw a jig when I have to catch fish, but a jig is so freaking deadly effective for catching fish. A lot of times I don't throw a jig because I don't feel like I learn anything. I feel like I throw it out there, I bump, drag it, I get a bite, I catch a fish, and I use it for a location bait, and then I switch and I experiment and I try other stuff. So because I'm fishing jigs and rocks and jigs over wood, and I'm punching and flipping and all that kind of stuff right now, and I'm not finesse fishing, I'm not using it as much, but I've got 4 spools that, like you said, I've spooled them up on my 2 of my spinning rods. I've got a spinning rod with a Tennessee handle on it from All Pro that I'm going to do a summertime drop shot video with this year that I'm pretty excited about, and I'm looking forward to using that. Actually, I'm going to use it straight and see how it works, and I'm going to compare it to a rod right next to it with braid with it tied in as a leader material. So I'm a big fan of it. I like their VizX and their BrazeX for a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now more so. But once I start fishing deep and clear and I downsize a bit, then I'll be throwing that heck out of it, because it ties knots probably better than anything else that they've got that I've used so far. It ties like a lot like their Cinchi Mono, and but very, very, very low stretch. Still good abrasion resistance for the sizes. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yep. Gene, was that one of the KBF line cutters?
Yep.
I stole it.
Cool.
Or as we like to say, I hoovered it.
We're gonna run a challenge with them later this year where we're gonna you gotta have that in the photo and you're gonna win something special. We haven't announced it yet, so now I guess you qualify.
Gene, I understand you served in the Army. Do you give Chad a hard time for being in the Navy? No, because of some of the things he did in the Navy. I was a pogue. I was in the rear with the gear shooting x-rays. You know, I was smart enough to get a job where you couldn't put my equipment on my back. So,
and I was on the tip of the spear. So,
yeah, so it's nothing but respect.
Listen, guys, there is no hard, there's a lot of...
This guy wants your wife's email.
It's KristyBassFishing@gmail.com. KRISTIE, bassfishing@gmail.com. So here's the thing. There's a lot of inter-service ball busting.
Oh,
We give each other a hard time. But when somebody else does it, it's a lot like when somebody picks on your sister, right? Or picks on your cousin. You can do it, but once they do it, you want to jump in there. And so it's always cool, the banter that goes back and forth. I almost joined the Army myself. But I passed the ASVAB, and then of course I had to join the Navy. So no, actually,
he got his name right.
I joined the Navy because I wanted to do the whole see the world thing and get out there, and I wanted a technical job, and they were offering me a flying opportunity, and the Army would only guarantee me a field, and I was really not comfortable just kind of rolling the dice and getting a job that they wanted for me instead of the one that I wanted. So I joined the Navy, and I spent 20 years and 5 days. That question gets asked a lot. In fact, somebody asked yesterday, hey, why don't you post some pictures of yourself in the military? I'll do that. I've got a lot of questions about what did you do in the military, so I'm not going to do one of these like, oh my God.
They didn't have cell phones back then.
Over the top, right. I'm not going to do one of those over the top, but we did have those little disposable click cameras.
Oh yeah, we did those.
I'm not going to do an over the top, talk about missions or any of that other stuff, but I do plan to do an overview of what I did in the military. Cliff's Notes version, I started out as a aircrew rescue swimmer. I did combat SAR, logistics, and maintenance. I got commissioned. I was a pilot. I had a tooth full when I was in 4 years in the Navy. That left an air pocket in my face that made me NPQ'd from flying. I then converted to a maintenance officer. I managed aviation. I then moved from one squadron to another. I did 2 squadrons in leadership tours. And then my last tour, I was on the Theodore Roosevelt as the continuous process improvement officer, where I earned my top ranking that you can get in the Lean Six Sigma Theory of Constraints world, and I use that to benefit me in the way that I run my business, the way that I run my life, and it was the best internship I ever had. I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about business, because even though I was military, I operated under what's called the Naval Aviation Enterprise, so I learned a lot about running businesses and managing budgets and things like that. So if you're thinking about a career, the military, in my opinion, is a really good way to go. I was just ready at the end of 20 years to do something else. Some great opportunities have been afforded me with this fishing career that had always been kind of a side gig. And I decided, you know what, when they read my eulogy, I don't want it to be one chapter. And I'm 37 years old because I joined when I was 17. I'm young enough now. I gave myself 3 years. I said, once I'm 40 years old, nobody will hire me anymore for long-term employment. So I'm going to retire at 37. I'm going to give myself 3 years. And if I ain't starving, then I'm going to keep doing it. But if I am, I'm going to do something different and take care of my family. And
you definitely ain't starving.
Fortunately, I ain't starving. And I have been blessed with some really great opportunities. Hard work pays off. Nobody's going to give you anything in this game.
Nope.
And but if you put yourself in the right positions at the right time, you do the work, a lot like the whole 60-30-10 rule that I use. Luck favors the prepared, and luck is where preparation and opportunity meet. And so for me, I've put myself in the right places at the right times, and been willing to do the work, and it's paid off. And you can do the exact same thing. I'm not going to tell you you can do anything you want to bull crap. I can't be an opera singer. Right? I can't be a country music singer. You cannot be anything you want. It's just not the case. I can't be a runway supermodel. Neither can Gene. Right? So you can't be anything you want. But you can be the best of what you are and what you can make out of yourself, and that's a real deal. But it takes a lot of work. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be a pro at something. I think that's crap. I think you took too many days off if you got there in only 10,000 hours. So anyway, get out there and do work. Hustle, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Somebody asked me if I had a chance to fish a tournament or just go fishing, what would you do? I'd just go fishing. I don't enjoy fishing tournaments. There's some that I do when there's no pressure, when there's no, I just can't, I turn into this evil little, I'm gonna slash your tires and kick your dog kind of person, because I'm ultra competitive, and so I just wanted fish. You know, I do have some opportunities this year to fish some tournaments, but they were fun, and I've got another one coming up in October, and I'm doing it just for video, just to have fun in video.
Have you ever seen Cuba Gooding Jr. in that movie where he was like the handicapped football assistant coach?
Mm-hmm.
What was that movie called? Radio.
Yep.
In Radio, he said, "I like both." When they asked him which pie he wanted, I like both. I like tournament fishing, and I like pleasure fishing. I like pleasure fishing because I tell people all the time that there's an evolution of a fisherman. Any fish, mini fish, big fish, method fish, and then big fish, method fish. What I mean by that is, in the beginning, you just want to catch any fish. Then you want to catch as many fish as you can. Then you want to catch big fish. Then you want to catch fish a certain way, and then you want to catch big fish a certain way. So when I'm pleasure fishing, I may only want to catch them on a frog. I may only want to catch them on a swim bait. I may know I could do something else and catch 100 fish, but that day I want to catch a fish on a crankbait. I want to catch one on a swim bait. I want to catch one a specific way. So when I'm fun fishing, I want to catch them a certain way. When I'm tournament fishing, then I'm going to put the odds in my favor to safety up and bang out my limit. And then I'm going to work on upgrading. I'm going to build my milk run. I'm going to dissect the fishery. And I really like that internal angst that builds up when you're dissecting the fishery. I like the heightened sense of awareness when you are super hyper aware of the clock, and when you're trying to talk to yourself to slow down when you need to slow down, or make a move when you need to make a move. I love that internal dialogue, and I love the camaraderie that goes with tournaments. I love the peacocking that goes with tournaments. So to me, probably because I was in the military and we were all super competitive in our particular.
It's coming back on slowly. You gotta love it. There we go. We're back.
So anyway, I like both. One more question, Gene. Let's shut it down. It looks like the sun's coming out. We can actually go catch a fish or shoot a video or some of all the above.
Okay, here's one. I've seen this one a couple times about the FG knot. Okay, and there are people who have problems with slippage on FG knots. First of all, the line diameter of the braid needs to be less or more. I've never had a problem. But the line diameter of the braid needs to be less than the diameter of the leader for the most part. For me, the way I get around that, and also the way I handle when I'm using slick braid, because I use the Seaguar Smackdown, which is slick braid, is in my video I say wrap it 20 times. With slick braid, or if you've got larger diameter braid, use 30 wraps instead of 20. Or even use more than that. And the other one mistake that people make is after you're done tying the knot, you tie that first half hitch, pull that half hitch tight, then grab both the main line and the leader and pull it tight. If you don't do that, it's going to slip out. Don't try to make the knot smaller or anything else, just pull those two tight, and that'll take your problems. And then make 4 or 5, maybe 6 more half hitches. Actually 3 more half hitches, cut your tag on your fluorocarbon, then 3 or 4 more half hitches and you're done. Is what I do, and it's a super small knot. It comes through guides really nice. Chad uses the Hoover knot, and it works good. It just, you can hear it go through the guides a whole lot more than the FG knot. So
here's the reason that I use the modified Albright is it works better across more dissimilarities of diameter, and because it works better when you've got a major dissimilarity between the diameter of your braid and your leader, it's got more universal applicability in my opinion. I agree with Gene that if you've got the more dissimilar the diameter, the more wraps you need, and the closer the diameter together, the less wraps you need. And that's true for both the modified Albright and for the FG knot. Yep. What I also like about the Albright is I do a lot of night fishing in the summertime, and I can tie it by feel with no lights on, blindfolded. So I can legitimately tie the Albright, modified Albright, the way that I do it, by feel, blindfolded. There's not anybody that I know of that can tie an FG knot blindfolded. And so for me, the ability to tie that knot more consistently across a broader spectrum of knot applicability is the main reason that I've taught that knot. Now, I'm going to do an FG knot video, and I'm going to tell you some of my little nuances, a lot like what Gene said. I call it the X pattern. You want to tighten it in the middle first and hold your 2 tag ends, and you want to pull both tags in the opposite direction, and then you want to recinch. So it's the X pattern. You do the main line, leader, the tag, and then pull the main lines again, and you're going to get a lot better compression of the knot. The wraps are going to stack better, and it's going to be a lot cleaner knot. So the FG knot is literally the #1 knot for connecting them together. If you were going to pick the knot side by side for cleanly coming through guides, for strength and retention of the original breaking strength of both pieces. But for me, the limitation is you can get too far apart in the dissimilarities in the main line and the leader material, and it doesn't work. And even if you get to the point where you're using too many wraps, you end up with a bit of a cradle, a little curve in the wrap of the braid over the leader material, and then it actually comes through the guides less effectively than a similarly tied Albright, the modified Albright that I tie. And so for me, the modified Albright's the one that I push to everybody because it's the easier knot. It's tied incorrectly less, and it's got more universal applicability. But I do love the FG knot. I tie it a lot, and then I just don't talk about it. But I'll do a video about it and show you kind of my little nuances. And yeah, it's a great knot.
We got to do a giveaway too, remember?
We're doing the giveaway from the comments.
Oh, from the comments.
Once the videos go live, and it's going to be either of the 2 videos. So hashtag Yeti.
Yep.
Hashtag line cutters, and we're going to pick some line cutters winners, and we're going to pick some Yeti winners.
Somebody asked me when I'm going to do a new truck video. I don't really show off my truck. It's just not me. You'll see it in my videos. We're working on
I'm doing a new truck video. Yeah, I just got a new truck, and I'm proud of that dang thing. Listen, I've driven undersized trucks. I've driven 4 and 5 and 6-year-old trucks my whole life. This is officially my first
brand new
newish truck, but it had
I still buy used.
It had 4,500 miles on it, so it wasn't brand new. Yeah. I got lucky. Randy Howell actually introduced me to the folks down at Benton. I found out they were the ones that saved my butt when I broke down in Warrior, Alabama, coming back from Lay Lake one time, and so I bought down in Alabama, and it's the newest truck I've ever owned with 4,000 miles. But man, I'm proud of it. We got it for purpose. We got a diesel. Titan XD. Christy kind of twisted my arm and pushed me over the hump. I was considering it, but I live in my truck. I'm on the road so much, and we're about to be living on the road with a toy hauler, so I needed a big diesel. I needed something that could pull it efficiently, and something that I didn't have to worry about. And so I upgraded to the Titan XD, and I am going to do a couple videos about it because I'm
getting new shoes on.
He's getting new shoes next week. We can come back here and fish.
Yep, and then...
All right, let's do one more question. One more question. Shut this thing down and go do something.
Well, you got everybody hashtagging stuff right now, so I got to go find a question.
All right, guys, pay attention. Hashtag on the actual video once it's live on the channel, not in the chat room and the live chat, because those don't carry over.
Yep.
So if you're wanting to win the giveaway, hashtag Yeti, hashtag line cutters, but do it in the comments once this video is posted, or the first half of this video since we had a break. Yep. Either one of those we're going to pick winners from.
Climate Commander, real quick. This is a quick one. I'm going to get to the last one. He asked me who made my intro tune. My intro tune came off of YouTube's music list. I try not to go outside of YouTube's music list because that way I'm guaranteed never to get dinged for one of my videos. So it's just a pain in the neck when you get dinged. Let's see.
Who did the editing?
Matt did.
For the new one?
For my intro video.
Oh, the intro video.
Yeah, yeah, Matt did. Let's see. What is?
Hey, Dwayne Sutter, just so you know, I'm doing an attack versus radar video, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even.
Way too long to answer it in this video, but I'm doing a video about that.
Do you do any fishing with veterans? Take one out on a lake for a day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just do it.
So, who's online? Everybody out?
Somebody's here for you.
Just go tell them I'm on.
Yeah. Give us 5 minutes. Here we go. It's rolling back in. It's rolling back in. Hold on. All right, here we go.
All right, guys, sorry about that. And yes, so to answer your question, we both work with an organization called Heroes on the Water, heroesonthewater.org. We don't really advertise that we do it, and the main reason is that both of us have a pretty good following and it's very difficult to advertise something and then be able to get out on the water discreetly. And so what we do is we work through these organizations to take guys out. A lot of these guys are not comfortable being videoed. A lot of these guys are not comfortable talking about that they're going out fishing with us. So it's something that we do, but we do it discreetly.
Yep. Well, that's it.
Gene, what do you got to add to that?
You know, I do Heroes on the Water, and I also have a friend of mine who's a psychologist in the military, and he sends me the most difficult ones, and I just take them fishing. So that's a lot of things. Him, you know, Chad and I both from the same boat. We just don't think that needs to be advertised. We do it. We just do it for fun, and we get to watch the expression on these guys' face when they realize they're in a safe place. So it's pretty cute, pretty cool.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, man,
we'll see you next time. Comment below for your chance to win.
Subscribe to both our channels.
Yeti stuff. Subscribe to both, and yeah.
Crawl out from
Yeti line cutters in the comments after the video's live.
Awesome.
Who's here?
All right, how do I get off? Oh, there it is. Finish.